What the New York Rangers just did is pure genius, as one former NHLer has spoken out on what Chris Drury has done this offseason to make the New York Rangers competitive, and also revealed a shocking detail on one of the moves that they did make this offseason that will have Rangers fans pretty fired up. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 77% of you who watch these videos aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the New York Rangers, go down below, hit that free subscribe button, because this channel is built for blue shirt fandom, and it is the place to be for all your daily New York Rangers content. But Bret, let's get right into it. One guy I was not expecting to have comments on the New York Rangers is former NHLer, and I do believe the movie is still coming out at some point. John Scott had some interesting comments on what the Rangers did this offseason. And again, it's been a pretty slow summer the last couple days, weeks at this point in terms of news. But John Scott explained why he views the K'Andre Miller swap essentially for Vladislav Gavrikov. And not just that, but some other moves as a slam dunk and pure genius by Chris Drury and the New York Rangers. He went on to say that essentially turning K'Andre Miller into Gavrikov and a first-round pick. And also, let's not forget, Scott Morrow is unbelievable. He said that Gavrikov is an unbelievable defenseman. Of course, we know that. He just signed a 7-year contract extension. He better be good, but we do know, through all the advanced analytics, that he is going to be a great player for this team. He had some other crazy comments that we're going to get to in just a second about the team that actually makes me feel very good about the team heading forward. But Bret, what's your take on, first of all, these comments from John Scott and the defense pairings heading into next year? Because make no mistake about it, this defense group is going to be better than last year. It just really depends on who's playing with who, I think, at this point.
Yeah, the defense group is certainly going to look better. I mean, if we get Adam Fox and Vladislav Gavrikov on the first pair, I mean, that makes things look much, much better for this Rangers blue line. And, there's been some chirps that, Adam Fox, coming off a down season, which you can say is true, looking at his prior seasons. I mean, he's been unbelievable. But even last year, I mean, this is a guy that was still sensational. Plenty of teams would beg to have a player like this. And Vladislav Gavrikov is going to bring the best out of Adam Fox. Adam Fox is going to bring the best out of Vladislav Gavrikov. You see right here on this statistic, he blocked 140 shots this past season. That's something that, is truly insane. He's a menace on the ice. It's going to help not only Adam Fox, but it's going to help Igor Shesterkin. It's going to have a trickle-down effect that's just going to make the Rangers blue line, the Rangers goaltending, the Rangers as a team better. Not only that, but on special teams. That's where the Rangers need to thrive. That's where the Rangers need to get back to their bread and butter on the penalty kill, on the power play. And Vladislav Gavrikov is certainly going to help in that regard. I mean, a penalty kill specialist. And you look at K'Andre Miller, this is a player that had nearly 100 turnovers this past season. That does not help, our goaltender Igor. It gives the other team easier opportunities, attacking our net. And, Igor wasn't perfect this past season, allowed a lot of easy goals, but certainly, those odd man rushes does not help any goaltender. It does not matter who you are. You could be Igor, you could be Hellebuck, you could be Sorokin, anybody. You get a fast break opportunity, and usually the team that's on the break has the advantage. So the Rangers are going to clean that up. K'Andre Miller, wish him the best, but this has been a player that has declined the past few years. He had nearly 100 turnovers this past season, but it's been continuing to get worse and worse in that category. But not only that category, but as a whole for K'Andre Miller these past few seasons.
Absolutely. You make a good point. I think you could have a literal brick wall in net. And if you get a bunch of 2-on-0s and 2-on-1s at some point, they're probably going to score on that wall. So, they're going to break through at some point. Doesn't matter what goaltender is in that net. So you do bring up K'Andre Miller as well. And I don't want to make this dumping on K'Andre Miller. He's no longer a New York Ranger, but we got to talk about it. His poor play last year forced Chris Drury into a decision here where he had to move him out when he needed a contract extension and to bring in a better defense defenseman in obviously Vladislav Gavrikov. And I thought this was pretty crazy from John Scott as well. He said he's still relatively young and maybe he's got a high ceiling. Last year was garbage. They direct quote, by the way, the guy turns the puck over all the time and he's lost in the defensive zone. He is completely uncoachable from my standpoint. He gets out of position all the time. He gets jittery when he's under pressure. And I thought that was pretty crazy that he spoke out and said some of that, obviously very candid. And we know some of that. We know that Keandre Miller, we saw it. We watched the games. He was out of position all the time. I don't know about uncoachable, but certainly didn't fix certain things like throwing pizzas up the ice in very inopportune times. You can't really unlearn some of that stuff, I think, at the NHL level if you're doing stuff like that in those moments. So, again, he went on to say in terms of Gavrikov, replacing a player like that with Gavrikov is going to do wonders for a player like Adam Fox, and not just that, but the team as a whole, because you go from, throwing the puck up the middle of the ice and getting scored on with 2 minutes left in the game, you lose the game, to having a guy who is a stalwart defensive defenseman with one of the best offensive defensemen, if not the best offensive defenseman in the entire league. And he went on to say that Fox will be paired with him. They will play 25 minutes a game, which is probably pretty accurate. They're going to be playing a lot together, and they're going to be very, very good. They will be downright scary to play against. Gavrikov will be that security blanket, and you have a coach in Mike Sullivan who knows how to deploy them, which is another interesting thing, because Mike Sullivan, let's not forget, won a Stanley Cup 10 years ago with 3 defensemen. So pretty excited for that. So what do you make of some of that, as well as some shocking comments from John Scott?
Yeah, shocking comments, certainly, but you can't say he's entirely wrong. Like I said,
Yeah.
Keandre Miller, big enough sample size here with the Rangers. I mean, this is a young player, but, not his first or second year, in the league. He's been with the Rangers for a half a decade. We've seen the skills, we've seen the natural born skills that he has. He's got that size, he's got some of those tools that you can't teach, but he does not have that hockey IQ, or has not been able to show that hockey IQ, always out of position, turning the puck over at an insane clip. Since the 22-23 season, not only has his point production gone down, like I alluded to earlier, going from 43 points to 30 points to 27 points, but his turnovers, even more so than the points, I really want to emphasize that, has been extremely concerning. When you go from 37 turnovers in 2022-23 to 68 turnovers to 97 this past season, basically 100 turnovers, that is a recipe for disaster, and it makes the rest of the blue line have to work even harder. It makes a player like Adam Fox, when he's paired with Keandre Miller, have to work that much harder. It doesn't allow Fox to flourish in his offensive skill set that he has. With Gavrikov, he's going to be able to take more chances. He's going to be able to get back to his offensive game while still being a very good defenseman. So Gavrikov is going to make Fox's life much, much easier, because, like I said, Fox won't have to worry about picking up the slack for everybody else.
Absolutely. And there was we had a large sample size of Fox playing with Keandre Miller last year and different defense partners. Obviously, Ryan Lindgren was his defense partner for the majority of the last couple of years. Now he has Gavrikov, and I think that's very exciting. We'll see how the rest of the defensive pairing shape up, but I think the disrespect on Adam Fox's name the last little while is a little ridiculous. He's actually a much better defensive defenseman, or on the defensive side of the puck, than a lot of people give him credit for as well. And the last thing I wanted to touch on is having to do with that. Adam Fox, last year, a lot of people were saying he had a down year. He still had 61 points in 74 games, which is good output. Obviously not the greatest year defensively for him or the entire team, but he was playing a lot of minutes, almost averaging 24 minutes a night on a team that, every night was making some very questionable decisions, from roster decisions to the actual lineup to when they were on the ice, like the mental decisions that they were making. I do believe that a bounce back is coming here for Adam Fox, if you even want to call it a bounce back. And this is from Jennifer. Adam Fox is set for a true comeback season next year after working through a knee injury. Let's not forget about that knee injury. Everyone keeps bringing it up. And obviously was injured late last year as well. Let's not forget about that. So, he's been working to get better, more in shape, obviously more explosive, getting back to that. And obviously now pairing him with Gavrikov, is just going to give him more stability to be himself. And, one thing that people don't talk about as well, and before we wrap up here, Brian, I want your thoughts on this, is just, how the mental aspect of the game plays into how well you play over the course of a season. I think Adam Fox is going to be in a really, really good place mentally this year because he's going to be motivated to come in. He's going to be hungry again, and he's going to have a guy that's going to allow him to play his game and at the highest level.
Yeah, well, here are my final thoughts, Darius. First off, Jennifer hit it on the head. I mean, Adam Fox, he does have an insanely high hockey IQ. I just spoke about Keandre Miller, who has a low hockey IQ. Adam Fox, very high hockey IQ, elite hockey IQ. And this is a player, you could call it a bounce back, whatever it may be. Still had a very good year last year. Let's not forget, this is a player that's never been a minus in his entire career, always in the plus category. Not only that, a multi-time 70 plus point scorer, does it on both sides of the puck, 200-foot player. I cannot wait to see him paired with Vladislav Gavrikov, that big body that's going to block plenty of shots. Let's not also forget that Adam Fox blocks shots as well, doesn't necessarily get the credit that he deserves when it comes to that, because everybody wants to talk about hits when it comes to defensemen, but blocking shots is very hard to do, and quite frankly, it's underappreciated. So, those 140 block shots from Vladislav Gavrikov will help. Adam Fox will chip in as well. And one more thing I wanted to touch on was Keandre Miller. The fact that John Scott was calling him uncoachable. Look, I'm disappointed with Keandre Miller just like everybody else, but I don't think he's uncoachable. I think he's got the skills. I think he's got the tools in the toolbox. You can't teach hockey IQ per se, but, this is a player that is not a lost cause. I wouldn't be surprised if he does find something in Carolina, but it doesn't mean it was the wrong move for the Rangers. The Rangers benefited and they won this trade.
Yeah, I think they won the trade. They're in a better spot right now. But like you said, I wouldn't say he's uncoachable. I just think it is a little bit hard for a guy in his position to go through 3 NHL head coaches in such a young NHL career, right? And obviously different systems and stuff like that. But wish him the best. But I think the Rangers are in a much better spot right now heading into this season, which is exciting. But we want to hear what you have to say about all of this in the comments because the conversation continues there. It also continues on X. You can find us on X. The link is in the description. But let us know how you feel in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.